Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Global Azure 2026, Colombo, Sri Lanka. So, thank you for all joining today at Microsoft Sri Lanka. So, first of all, along with that, I would like to pay my special gratitude for our sponsors, Digital Team and NextGen Campus, for their contribution for making success today's event. So, to remark the welcome, I would like to invite Patu.
Good morning, everyone. So it's nice to see some familiar faces as well. This is the second time we are doing this session. So I think last year we had a marvelous session, and last year we had many speakers. So this year actually we were planning to go online because we were thinking about that fuel crisis and those things will impact the session, but luckily we were not impacted. With few our sponsors, we decided, okay, let's do it physical again because everyone is asking this session. So I know that some people actually even send couple of messages as well, complaining like I didn't got selected, and I know that even I think in my career path, I remember I'm also complaining because I was also want to come these sessions. I want to meet people, I want to collaborate, and I want to learn from them. Unfortunately, we have capacity limit. That's the main issue because we had 400 plus requests to participate in physical, but only we were able to accommodate around 50 people. But next year, definitely we will going to increase the session, and we will have more speakers and more sessions. So thank you everyone for coming. And this is a global event. Global Azure event is every country is doing. It's not only the country having a one session. Some countries actually having couple of sessions. So this is the Sri Lankan chapter. So we have registered as a Sri Lankan chapter. So we actually, our team is IT Pro community. So IT Pro community is something we deliver for professionals about multiple technologies. It's not we are not only focusing about a specific chapter. So product. We actually focusing on. We will be having security sessions. We will having AI sessions or infrastructure, Azure. So we actually our community is more about delivering different technologies for our IT professionals. And also this year actually we started because we cannot accommodate all the people requests because everyone is asking, okay, next year can you give a Intune session or can you continue the sessions or AI session? So we decided, okay, rather than we doing a one session for a one per month, let's do it two sessions because online session is there every month. Second Wednesday we having an online session. You can register on our IT Pro website. So and even the LinkedIn profile, you will see those sessions. So online session, we don't have any capacity limit. We will allowing everyone to come and have that interaction sessions. And we are actually bringing all the IT professionals who are working on those stuff. Those are the who are the expert on their field. And we are having another session, physical session every month. This location in every month last Wednesday. So last Wednesday, 6 p.m. we'll be having the physical session. So we are the only community who doing two sessions per month. So online and physical, and we won't give more to our community, bring more speakers, and even we are giving opportunities to people come and do the session. So if you are planning to, if you are interested to do a session, let us know. So then we will arrange your session as well, either online or physical. So this is about ourselves, and this is we want to have a two-way session. So if you have any questions, speak to our speakers, and even we have some couple of professionals as well. So you can reach out to those professionals, and also we have sponsors as well today. So our one of the sponsors is NextGen Campus. One of my good friend Gayan, who's the director of the NextGen Campus. So they will be actually available on these premises. You can go and speak to them. They are actually doing marvelous job on the training stuff. So they will give a introduction on their side. So and also they will be giving a discounts on their classes. So when you are registered, just mention you have attended. We will be sharing your email addresses. So when you reach out to any courses, they will give you a special discount because you have participated on the Global Azure event. And we have given like last year we had many stacks, but this year also we have several stacks as well. So few stacks we have I think given to you on the morning. When you are leaving, there will be another stacks pack. You can collect it. So because we last moment we prepared, we didn't have much time to like to get sponsors and prepare those sacks, but there are a couple of sacks. So when you're leaving, you will you can collect it those sacks as well. So washrooms are there outside. You need to go main door. From there, you can go to the washrooms, and also don't bring any foods to this inside the meeting room inside because that's a restriction they have given. So you can use the common area for the any foods, and also like make sure that you have like silent your mobile phone, so we will not have any interruptions. And yeah, that's it. So again, thank you for coming, and let's start our. We will give first to the Next Change campus to speak about their offerings and what they have doing on the industry. And after that, I'll give to the digital team to their session. After that, we'll start the. We will give the opportunity to the speakers. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Right. Actually, I'm representing NextGen Campus. We are one of the main sponsors of this event. So actually, I'm not going to talk about Azure or its benefits or its technical stuff because there are so many qualified people here. They will be doing it later on the day. So I'll give you a small introduction about our company. Actually, I got this message around 12 last night, 12 exactly at 12 that I had to deliver a speech here. So I got the help of ChatGPT a little. So forgive me if I sound something like ChatGPT. Okay. Okay. Actually, NextGen Campus, we start our institution campus as an institution around 2019-2020 period, right before the COVID period started. Then we were invested a huge amounts, big place we got, and then again within a month the COVID hit. So we have downsized our operations, and then again around 2022 we have started again. So basically we were delivering trainings for Microsoft, like our main things were like Microsoft Azure. So Azure, actually we have designed a special course which normally people do Azure, like if you say Azure 900, Azure fundamentals, and then Azure administration. So those two they stop, then they don't know what to do. So like something like that. So because of that, we have started a course which we have taken the Microsoft syllabuses and combined to a one course, which is 6 months. So basically the inclusions were Azure fundamental, Azure administration, then we had Azure security module AZ500, then like MS 365, MS fundamentals, MS administration, then again MD endpoint 1, MD 102, then finally AI introduction. So we have combined all these and we have made a course which we deliver for 6 months. Initially, we have given a certificate just from NextGen campus. Then again, we have got another chance to register this course in UK, which is what you call a ABE UK, a professional diploma. Now, our course is a professional diploma course. The name is Cloud Computing and Security. Diploma in Cloud Computing and Security. So, which we have a lot of opportunities because, you know, like 2-3 years back, people were trying to migrate because of the financial crisis and everything. So they needed to have a kind of a diploma or maybe HND or a degree where they get points to for their visas. So since we have registered this one with the AB UK, so you get all these. So that is our main, actually the premium course that we deliver. Apart from that, we deliver so many other courses like short courses like 2 months, Azure Administrator or maybe Endpoint Administrator 365. Then again, we have some security courses where we design our own course for cybersecurity and ethical hacking. It's not CEH, it's one of our own courses. Then again, we deliver AWS, so many things, but since this is a Microsoft event, I don't want to talk about that. So in Microsoft, those are the things that we do. So apart from that 6-month course, we have 2 months, 3 months short courses. You can, you know, quickly brush up your knowledge and be prepared for the Microsoft exams. So what we do is we basically targeting practicals because we understood that in the market, so many people, they have the knowledge, enough knowledge on theory. But when they're trying to apply it for the practicals or to the real world, they find issues. So like, you know, if you go to Singapore, Malaysia, somewhere else, and you apply for an interview and you go for the interview, they don't check your certificates, nothing. They give you a solution, sorry, question and ask for your solution. So you have to do it using a laptop or whatever. So in that case, most people have failed. Because of that, we try to bridge that gap between the knowledge and the real world. So I think up to now we have succeeded well. So that's it about the courses and our campus. Another special announcement that I have to make, Mr. Gayan, our founder, he said anyone in this room or anyone of your relatives, they want to do a course with us, they get a 10% discount. What we do is I think we are getting your names and contact numbers. So if somebody calls us, we can identify that's you and we give that discount for any of our, not only Microsoft, for any other course. Okay. So that's it. Anything you want to? Yes.
So I think as Kaushal, invite Mr. Peter.
So thank you for that. Thank you for your contribution as well. So at next, I would like to invite a representative from the digital team to have a look.
Hi, Bawan. I'm super excited to be here this morning on a Saturday, you know, really talking about all the amazing things that are happening in Azure and the cloud. But the reality is if we think about events like today, they just could not be possible without the support of Microsoft, you know, providing this amazing venue for us to be in, but also for the team giving up their time on a Saturday morning to be part of the community, but also to the tireless volunteers that have spent many, many hours behind the scenes pulling this event together for everyone to be able to be a part of. So I want you to just have a quick round of applause just to say thank you for all of their efforts. I'd also like to say a huge thanks to NextGen as well for all of their support as well as a sponsor, because now events like this do not come together without all of the community bridging in together. And at Digital Team, our mission is very simple. It's about how do we unlock potential and achieve more. That's unlocking the potential of our team members that work with us day to day and helping them grow and accelerate their careers. It's also working with our customers to help them unlock their potential. But also one of the most important things for us is unlocking the potential of the communities that we work with. And we're super proud to be based in Sri Lanka and exclusively working in the Sri Lankan ecosystem as well. So for us, community is something that is near and dear to my heart. I'm a former MVP. I was a data platform MVP for over 10 years. So yes, I can write a SQL statement and manage your database environment, but I'm not very good at that anymore. But what I saw was the value of community and how coming together, everyone is actually able to then all the boats in the harbour lift together because we all rise together. So I want to say a massive congratulations to each and every one of you for the effort that you're putting into your own career, because days like this allow you to take away those nuggets, allow you to continue to grow, be able to continue to develop and really accelerate your career. So as a business leader, one of the things that I always used to look for in our team members that we would recruit is people that are passionate enough to go and give up their own time to be able to continue to learn and continue to grow. So what you're doing today, will help you and really enable you to be able to then step up and accelerate your career. Because the reality is the technology landscape today is moving faster than it ever has before. We had traditional box products where, there'd be a new release maybe every 3 years that might come up. So staying ahead of the technology was easy. We go and have beta versions that we could then easily be able to get our hands on and start to play it to stay ahead of the curve. We then moved into that cloud cadence where, continually we saw new products released time and time again at a cadence that we'd never seen before. But now we're actually in an AI first world where the landscape's changed totally. But what it is how do you go and continue to go and build and develop those skills in order to enable you to be able to then stay ahead there? And I think, being part of an environment like this where everyone's able to support each other, having that strong cohort is really, really important. So look, I would encourage you throughout the day to go and have a chat to Urshad and the rest of the talent acquisition team at Digital Team. We're super proud of what we've been able to deliver in the Sri Lankan environment for our team members, and we're continuing to grow as an organisation. So we're just over 2.5 years old since we've been here in Sri Lanka. We've now grown over to 300 team members, and we're continuing to grow at about 20 team members every month that's joining our team. Talk to the team about some of the amazing benefits that we provide to all of our team members. We're one of the highest paying employers in Sri Lanka. We pay all of our team members in foreign currency to make sure that you can put more money in your jeans and help support your families and be able to then improve your lifestyle and be able to really take advantage of everything that's amazing about Sri Lanka. We have incredible medical insurance that we provide, not only for you and your families, but also for your parents as well, and numerous other benefits. So if you want to work on some of the most leading cutting edge projects globally, we work with customers across the UK, the US and Australia. I'd encourage you to talk to the team. We have about 40 open roles that we're recruiting across various different technologies, everything from AI engineering all the way through to software development and obviously Azure infrastructure, which is what everyone's here today is to learn and grow with that. So once again, I really appreciate the opportunity to have a chat to you. I know today is absolutely going to be a cracking day. I've seen the agenda. There's some amazing speakers and some amazing things you're going to be able to take away from today. But once again, appreciate the opportunity and have an absolutely awesome day today. So thanks, guys.
Kick off the event. So let's move on to the very first technical session of the day.
So, first of all, let's congratulate has accepted of MVP. Yeah.
So today's very first session will be conducted by Mr. Pereira, who is of every. So he will be conducting the session on topic reduce Azure cost by implementing effective governance strategies. Over to you, sir.
Right. Very good morning, all. So, thank you all for participating on the Azure global boot camp, right? So in 2026, right? So as the first session today, right? So I will be conducting about kind of a topic that most of the ones will uh, like probably which is not famous or not very much popular topic, right? But it's become nowadays it become a kind of a burning issue, right? So uh, maybe you all know Tisara, and I will be a MVP as well recently. So when it's come to our topic today, we will be discussing about Azure cost by implementing effective governance strategies, right? Because governance and cost will come with a kind of a collaborative combination in Azure nowadays, right? Uh, let's move on to our agenda today, right? So we will be discussing about uh, how the what's the problem of this cost, right? Because most of the ones having this problem, right? And how we can mitigate these things. What are the mistakes or uh, side killers actually, right? Because it's burning for a company, right? The cost. So how we can mitigate them, how we can control them, right? So and kind of a small demo as well, and some real world insights about how we can mitigate these things and what are the uh, things that we could not think of, right? About the cost and controls, right? So kind of a interactive session, right? So we'll start on, right? Uh, okay. First of all, I think we'll start from a question, right? So for the two questions, we'll try to find some answers, and maybe y'all also can go to your organizations and put these inputs, and maybe try to save some cost and make some controls to your entire Azure tenants or Azure uh, workloads, right? So first of all, anyone else know about your organization? I know maybe most of the ones are working, right? So do you all have any ideas about your organization Azure cost monthly? Anyone? How the resources are utilizing, what sort of amount of cost your company is paying for Microsoft in terms of Azure billing? Any idea? And like who is accountable for this cloud services, like cloud cost and all, right? So these are some two main questions, right? Comes into our minds as maybe y'all are engineers, maybe administrators, maybe architects, right? But end of the day, the resources which you all are deploying on Azure, maybe in any tenant or any resources, maybe you all have to know about the cost as well, right? So uh, some there are some problems, right? Nowadays, like the world, maybe not only for Sri Lanka, for each and every country in the world, they may face some sort of real world problems, right? When they are handling on Azure and working on the Azure tenants and all, right? Maybe working on the projects, right? Mainly, right? So first one will be like engineers or developers, or nowadays with the DevOps and automations are coming on, so developers also taking part on infrastructure, right? So they can deploy anything, right? Because it's we all can, if you all have a tenant and you all have active subscriptions, you all can deploy any resources, right? So it's also a kind of a cost killer, right? Hidden cost killer, right? Because if we deploy unknown resources and all, there can be some problems, right? And no approvals and restrictions. Approval is a major important thing, right? When we are doing a deployment to any of the resources in a tenant, we should have proper approvals, restrictions, right? And the other one is the utilization time. I think most of the ones are not thinking about this thing as well, right? Because if our resources are running in 24/7, right, and if we doesn't have any kind of a productivity or a business use case during the off time period, we can do some automations to reduce that, right? And the main thing from the scratch was this capacity plan. So we have to do kind of a capacity planning or resource planning as well, right? So it's also nowadays a problem, right? Because most of the major projects are going for failures in 1 or 2 months due to these capacity planning issues. Because if they do the capacity planning during their initial cost planning or the resource implementation, architecture designing and all, I think cost optimization is not a big game, right? And the ownership and resource tagging also kind of a governance side problem, and resource identification and cost management part, the tagging will be another problem, right? So today's session, I will be try to give some sort of a practical answers for you all for these questions, how we can overcome these problems within the Azure, because Microsoft has given the solutions already. Only thing is we are not using that properly, right? So today we'll try to uh, understand what are the things which we can make these things more visible to us and control it and try to save the cost, right? So any questions, any clarifications, Steve? We'll try to make it more interactive. Then you all also can ask questions from me anytime, right? Uh, right. So governance, right? Not government, right? Governance, right? So governance is a vast area, right? It will comes with three major area, which risk, compliance, and governance. Maybe you all heard about GRC as well, right? So in that also a part of GRC is one major part is governance, right? So when it's come to cloud computing or Azure or Microsoft also, they have the governance visibility as well. When it's come to Azure also, we have Azure governance, right? So major key components of Azure governance will be control, right? Who can create what, right? Because who has the permissions to create, who has the authority to create, and what sort of resources they can create, right? So kind of a restriction, but it's controlling, right? Because otherwise anyone can deploy anything, right, in your tenants. So have to have some sort of a restriction and what sort of services you all can deploy. So those type of controls we have to put, right? And the visibility has to be there anyway, right? So once you apply these controls, there should be a visibility, right? Who is using, who has the controls, right? So that visibility is there. And the enforcement, right? Because enforcement is kind of a thing that not going to restrict a person here, right? But we can restrict some sort of services, we can restrict their full visibility on here, controlling it, right? When it's come to control, it's also part of enforcement, right? So like when it's come to Azure governance, these are three areas or three components that we can majorly cover, right? So if we cover these areas, that means we will be overall we are governing our tenant, right? Because we have the control and we have the visibility as well, right? So nowadays most of the tenants, they have this lack of control and the visibility. Maybe they have enforcing some policies, but it's not related to their business requirements, right? To their major projects or their business flow, right? So we have to identify what are the requirements. Like when we are applying a policy also in the practical scenario, if we go for a organization tenant based on their requirements, right, we can apply policies, right? But based on our organization structure, our business requirement, we have to apply the controls. Otherwise, we can apply multiple policies, right? So then the visibility is also not there, right? So we have to be very careful what are the controls we are applying. So based on the controls, we get the visibility, right? So I hope y'all get clear about the governance, right? Because it's a vast area, but I have summarized into 3 components, right? And so uh, kind of controls, right? So that may help us in solving this Azure cost problem, right? Because it's a major burden for a company, right? Because let's say if your monthly bill is very huge amount, right, then your ROI of your return of income of your business, right, it will be a bigger problem, right, for your business drive or your organizations to drive, right? So as engineers or architects, right, or administrators, if we are in a good sound knowledge or we are knowledgeable enough in these areas, right, to control them, to visible, like get the visibility of what we are doing here, right? So then we can suggest those things to our management teams and we can apply those things, right? And we can manage up to a certain level, right? I'm not telling about 100% we can save the cost here, right? But up to a certain level, we can reduce the cost, right? And even we can get the more visibility and the control, right? So first thing we can apply policies, right, to prevent on bad decisions, right? So for example, if we deploy some sort of high SKU VMs, right, high capacity VMs in Azure, right, but maybe your application or your systems doesn't require that much of resources, right, but end of the day, end of the month, you have to pay the money for the Microsoft. Whatever the thing you are utilizing in cloud, you all have to pay, right? So that's how the operational cost model is working, right? You all maybe know how cloud services are going. They are fully going with OpEx model, right? So in that case, there should be a way to restrict these things, right? Because maybe a starting or a startup organization at this moment, they don't need this much of controls. But if our business is growing up to a kind of an enterprise level, you all should have that visibility. You all should have that controls. Otherwise, every day you all have to do changes. Every day you all have to do the optimizations. Never ending task, right? So if you all have these proper controls and the governance and all in place, right, then you all have a less burden, right? And in terms of this governance, it will reflect to the cost as well, right? Because each and every activity what we are doing in there will make us a cost, right? So we have to, like, maybe y'all working as engineers or architects, y'all just consider like, okay, company will pay us, right, like pay the cost, right, and they will pay us a salary, right, that's it. But if y'all are getting a good salary, that means your applications or the systems are productively working for your business, right? So it is kind of a cost saving is also a part of your job role. Maybe at this moment it won't be, but in future it will be, because like trust me, like most of the tenants now they are mature enough, right? Resources are fully working, systems are fully cloud, and app modernizations are happen, right? So now the companies nowadays also, right, the companies now the main first paining point is cost, right? Let's take a small example, right? So your management is always telling, hey, the monthly billing is very high, is there any other options, any other cloud platforms, any other options that whether we can go, any other SaaS products, whether we can replace this entire solution. So those type of things are coming under. But let's say if you have a proper controls and your cost is fully or partially or optimized and a reasonable cost you all are paying for the cloud vendors, right? Then maybe that will be a big benefit, right? Not only monthly, when you all calculated it annually, it will be a big saving, right? So tagging is also part of uh, governance, right, in Azure, because we can put multiple tags, right, to identify the resources and to manage the cost, right, and cost monitoring and tracking and alerting them, right? Because if we deploy the resources, okay, the monthly bill will come, right, based on your bill of material or your Azure cost estimate. You all think, okay, if we estimate for 1000 USD, right, we'll think, okay, monthly we will get that amount, so nothing to worry. No, it will never happen, right? It's just a estimate, right? So the cost can be changed uh, monthly, month on month, right? So maybe in your first 2 months that the same cost will not come based on your utilization, but when it's growing, right, that can be happen. Like, let's say, for example, right, practical example, if you all are using databases, the databases can be grow month on month, right? So in that case, maybe it will change your storage capacity, maybe compute you all need to based on your database utilization may need to increase. So with those things, the cost can be increased, right? So the same cost will not continuously come. In some services, yes, the static cost will be there, but most of the services based on your utilization, it may change, right? So it's a main important thing for you all to have the monitoring, right? So it's like, as I told you, it's kind of a continuous task, never ending task, because we have to optimize the policies, we have to assign tags, whether resources are with missing tags, we have to consider them, and cost monitoring, alerting, those things kind of a continuous things we need to check, improve them, right? Then only your tenants or your Azure environments will get standardized. Clear? Because maybe I think most of the ones know about those days on-premises data centers, right? We have sort of standardizations, data center standardizations, right? So if we have those kind of controls, visibilities, that's why they are data centers like going on. Otherwise, that will be a supermarkets, right? Supermarket racks. We can put each and everywhere servers, network racks, all we can put like a mess. But if we have a standard, that can be applied to here as well. For that, we need these controls and the visibility. What we are putting, not only the controls, by putting those controls, we need to get that visibility as well. Otherwise, we cannot do the continuous improvements. Clear? It's kind of a simple formula, just we need to apply, right? Think of that, right? So first point or our first area in terms of controlling, right? So like clean Sri Lanka, right? So we can uh, put Azure policies as well to clean our environments, right? To remove all the unnecessary dirty things and optimize our environments, right? So first of all, I have to tell, when you all are applying Azure policies, first of all, think of what are the policies you all are going to apply, right? Because this can damage your entire business as well, right? Because everything has a like action, every action has a reaction, right? So this will go with every action has a reaction, right? Whatever the policies you are putting, it will gives you a reaction, right? So that's why you have to think of twice what are the policies we are going to apply, right? So if it is a deny policy, it can, if you apply it to your entire environment, that can harm to your entire business flow, or it can reach out to a business impact as well, right? So with that, right, so I have identified some of the major policies, right, that we can apply correlating to the cost, right? Because when it's come to Azure policies, we have multiple policies, right? because based on the regulatory compliances, we have policy initiatives, right? And we have different other policies as well, right? So policy initiatives means we have standard regulatory compliances, like you all may heard about ISO, PCI DSS, right? And CIS, right? So likewise, world standard compliances also there, right? So based on those things, Microsoft is also giving set of policies that which we can apply to our Azure tenants, right? But there are some built-in policies, right, which we can use to control our cost and control our tenants' resources, right? So first policy which we can use is to restrict these expensive resource skills, right? Maybe some organizations even doesn't need of those SKUs, right? For example, practical example will be if you are having virtual machines with 64 CPU and 1 to 8 GB memory, right? Maybe most of the organizations doesn't use those things, right? In terms of ERPs like SAP, likewise, if they are using ERPs, they use those high scale HPC VMs, right? Other than that, they doesn't need, right? So we can control them. What are the allowed SKUs we need to allow in our entire tenant? We can restrict them and allow whatever the things we need. Then we get a full control. Otherwise, accidentally, if we deploy it and if that VM runs for 1 hour period, we will be charging, right? Microsoft is not responsible for that. They will send us the bill because we cannot say, hey, I was deployed that VM because of accidentally. I don't know about that. That don't care with Microsoft, right? So if we put those controls in place, then those mistakes will never happen. And the bad side of this will be there are some crypto attacks going on, right? So with these things also, they will provision large scale VMs, not one or two, multiple, right? So it may can charge you all thousands of amounts, right, in USD, right? So it will be a big burden for a company because end of the day, you all have to pay. Even they doesn't care whoever who deployed it, right? So if we have placed those controls, then we are safe, a bit of a safe. We can have a undercover on that, right? So lock in these regions as well, right? So maybe your resources may be deployed in certain regions only, right? Other regions you all doesn't know, need to deploy the resources because this is also a cost component. Based on the region as well, the resources cost may change, right? For example, in Sri Lanka, we mainly use the Singapore data centers, Southeast Asia and East Asia, Hong Kong, right? Because that is the latest or the uh, our lowest latency in terms of network, lowest latency data center for Sri Lanka is Singapore and East Asia, not India, right? So if you are Sri Lankan workloads, you are Sri Lankan organization and you all are using only these regions, you all can restrict others, right? Because that's also even a dollar will be a big impact for your company in annually because your company, the finance team will calculate the cost in terms of annually maybe, right? So even a single dollar will be a big saving, right? Think of that, right? Because each and everything, each and every click, each and every resource may generate a cost, right? Because there are some free resources as well, right? But the major resources which we need to run our workloads will under the resource of cost, right? So enforcing the tagging, right? So this will help for us to identify the cost actually, right? Identify the resources, right? Practically, if we take large amount of resources, maybe uh, currently I will be working around 100,000 of resources, right? So in that tenant, if he doesn't have these tags, we cannot identify. If it is a global office or a global tenant, right, we cannot have without tags. We cannot identify the resources because we are humans, right? We are not machines, right? We cannot identify. That's practical, right? Because with the names and all, we cannot, right? The easiest way is we can put the project name or the ownership or the owner of that project or the cost center, mainly the cost center, right? Easy to identify the budgets, budget codes based on the organizations. They may have budget codes, right? So this particular project have this budget code. We can use that, right? And in tagging, we have maybe you all have heard tag parenting, right? So we can inherit those tags to our related resources in a particular main resource, right? Let's say if you have a virtual machine, you can put the tag parenting, then it will automatically apply to your related resources for a virtual machine, maybe the disk, maybe the NIC, and the other correlated services. Those are some of these things, and we can enforce these from policies. That's why I take it here, right? Because we can enforce. Without these tags, you all cannot deploy any resource, right? So likewise, then no one will miss these things, right? Then any engineer or a developer or architect who is deploying the resource will try to put these tags and deploy the resource, right? Otherwise, if you deploy the resource and you are trying to put the tags, it will never happen, right? I have seen multiple tenants that missing tags are there. When we run a query and see the missing tags are there, right? So it will be another admin task to do the missing tags, update them, right? And the other one is this enforcing the regulatory compliances, right? So this will be a major area in the risk and compliance, right? Because based on your organization, whether it's a healthcare industry or the finance industry or retail, whatever the industry, you all are following up on any kind of a regulatory compliance, right? For example, ISO, right? So those policies has to be in place into your tenant as well. Then only you are compliant. Otherwise, if you, let's say, if you are saying like I will be our company will be ISO certified, right? That's okay, you are get the certification, but if you need to showcase for an auditor that we are compliant from the infrastructure perspective in cloud infrastructure, you all have to enforce these policies, right? Because it's a must, because most of the organizations facing the issue in this place when they come to renew it, to when they come to do the audits, they will check those things. If your workloads are running on cloud, they will pretty sure they will check, right? And other thing is the unwanted resource types, right? You all know in Azure they have plenty of resources, services, right? Not resources, services, right? In that, maybe we are using for our organization, we may use a 10% of that resources, right? For infrastructure, for our applications, maybe for our security purposes, we use small number of resources, right? Other resources we are not utilizing or we are not using them, right? We can restrict them, right? Because if we accidentally, or maybe we are not knowing that what is that service, maybe we are trying to put those resources, maybe incur cost, right? Because if we put the resource and once we put the resource, the bill comes, management or your finance team will ask from you, hey, when compared with the last month bill, this month the cost is bit higher, right? Then we have to do multiple things to find out, right? Maybe you all need to do some testings, R&Ds. Yes, you all can use a sandbox environment, right? Or a separate testing subscription and test the resource. But don't touch those things in the production workloads or production subscriptions. You all can restrict them, right? So these each and every these three components will save you even a $1 if you all properly place these three policies. Will save your cost, pretty sure, right? Because most of the resources may cost the cost from here, right? Because y'all are putting all the expensive resources, maybe your application vendor or your application developers telling like we need this much of specifications, we need this much of workload to run, right? But actually when you put the resources in that application, maybe it's not utilizing even 50%, right? So we need to do the capacity planning properly. Then only our cost will go as a normalized way. Otherwise, we are paying for nothing. Believe me, paying for nothing, right? Because then only you all get optimized. Otherwise, removing the resources, reducing the resources will not happen from the beginning. When you are implementing, do the capacity planning properly, resource planning properly, then it will benefit you, right? Any questions on Azure policies?
That if we apply all this into the research and development section as well, so we are getting into trouble because so many restrictions, we can't do new things and identify new things. Like from your perspective, so if we have a research and development in a company, so what would be the best way to segregate them from the basic policy applied for all the employees, and from the research and development, how they can utilize their resources in a proper manner? Any suggestions for you?
Yes, main thing is maybe I don't know the company structure is how it's built, right? So
Yeah, it's
how the
general.
policies are applied, right? Because you may know the hierarchy, right? There's a hierarchy. So from the root level management groups, we usually apply the policies if they need to apply from the root level, right? But let's take if you all are doing any sandbox environment or R&D tenant or R&D subscriptions are separately going on. In policies, we can apply exclusions as well, right? We can put the exclusions. But the thing is, if the it's not practical or the best practice to apply those exclusions from the root level, right? Because it will inherit for all the entire tenant level, right? So, but you all can do the restrictions or the exclusions for your particular resources or your particular area only. Like, for example, if you need some set of SKUs or resource types, right? You all can put to your governance team or your security team and ask them, we need these particular resources for our R&D purposes, right? So with that, they can put the exclusions only for your subscription or your resource groups. So that type of exclusions are okay to do, but it's not a practical thing or a good practice to apply the exclusions from entire tenant.
Yeah, my second question, like when it's come to R&D, anyway, the cost is high because we are using and we are testing higher capabilities as well. So then for that one from the Microsoft front, is there any way to kind of, minimize the cost utilization for R&D work? And so think about like we need to host a kind of VM that is only for few weeks, not for the month. Like the bills coming for the like just after we created that bill started. So then in that sense, like is there a way to we just need to test for few days and uh delete it or something like that?
Yes, by after your particular R&D is finished, you all can clean those resources, right? It's the easiest way you can do. Otherwise, if you need that VM data or something, you all can delete all the computes and related components by taking a snapshot of that disk. Yes, that's also a good option. Otherwise, if you keep shut down in the VM, it will reduce your compute charge only, right? Because it will charge for if you have public IPs, disk, for those things, it will charge, right? So I think if you need those data and your R&D is finished, right? In practical, let's say you are doing you are doing R&D on in the second quarter, right? So then till that you can keep a snapshot of that and delete the VM, right? So then whenever you need, you can spin up a VM. That's also a good method because snapshot won't charge much. Clear? Okay. Uh, any other questions? Yeah. Hmm.
source.
Hmm.
And let's say VM,
Okay.
and let's say it's like C-log or some sort of a
Hmm.
policy. We exclude it from the Azure policy manager. We revert back to the diagnostic log change that we did.
Hmm.
Or do we have to log into the VM and do the revert back?
Okay.
Because,
It,
what I
in some, there are some policies that will not change, right? You have to go manually and change it.
go individual, right?
Yes.
The scale, I think that's
The best way is to put a PowerShell. Yes. If you have large amount of resources, the best way is to put a PowerShell in automation and run it.
think same thing, but I was looking for a
If
easier
you do
solution if I
some
can-
changes with the policies, right, you can put a remediation task as well, run a remediation, right? From the remediation also it will do, but with it also involves a automation part. So easiest way is to clean up with a PowerShell. Your time will save. Otherwise, you have to take another time to do the automation remediations and all. But anyway, the compliance will reflect to you. Once it is removed or non-compliant, compliant resources will reflect to you. Any other questions, Steve? Okay. Azure tags, right? So this is also kind of a important thing, right? When naming the tags, right? Because we also have uh, names and whatever the things, but we have to put the tags as well, right? Because otherwise we cannot identify what are the resources we have, what sort of resource types we have, project, the cost center, those things we doesn't have, right? So in those things we have to consider what are the things we plan to put. Based on the your organization, these tags will change, right? Maybe your departments, you can put your project name, project codes, cost center, budget codes, whatever the things you all can put, right? So it's a must, right, to have tags, right? Then your entire resources will be identifiable, and your cost, when you need to filter out the cost of your particular project or your budget code, you all can filter out it, and maybe monthly or annually cost you can get it. Clear? Okay. So Azure cost management, right? So maybe this is also a good place to visit and see, right? Whatever the things you all do in your entire month will give you a kind of a visibility here, right? Which will get your company management team surprises, right? Because this is the thing, end of the month you will get the monthly billing with surprises, right? To reduce those surprises, better to go here and check your utilizations, right? And try to make these cost alerts, budget alerts, right? Keep a budget, right? You all can put a monthly budget or an annually budget or a quarterly budget to your resources, right? And if the budget is exceeding the threshold, it will alert you all, right? Because let's say you all can put the budget alerts from 50%, whether your budget is $1,000, whether it's reaching the 50%, that means $500 you will get the alert, right? That's fine, fair enough to get some save, right? Whether if it is 100% utilizing, that means you all have passed that particular, that reach your threshold, right? So with those things, the budget is more important, right? So if you exceed that amount, then it will be a burden for your entire organization. And as engineers, architects, you all have to make your list of excuses also, right? To tell what has happened, right? Otherwise, it will come across to your side, right? As technical, right? So, going with a small demo, right? Because we have some sort of limited time as well. Uh, before going to that, I will showcase you all something, right? Which may important, right? So this is the service trust portal, right? Which Microsoft has given, right? In here, we have all the standard certifications, regulations, and the standards where which come across with Azure, Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, right? Because whether your ISO, SOC, right, GDPR, PCI, whatever the world recognized standards are here, set of regulations, how the Microsoft cater these regulations, all are there, right? So just have a Google search and see, like, you all can just freely available this, you all can access, right? And when it's come to Azure portal, right? So our main area is this policies, right? So let me, right? So right. So in here, I have prepared, because with the time and all, I have prepared some set of policies, right, with me, right? So these are some sort of policies, right? So I have prepared some rejected policies, deny policies, right? Some policy initiatives, right? So initiative is kind of a collection of policies. This is CIS policies where Microsoft Azure Foundation benchmark, right? So this has set of around more than 200 policies are there, right? So make sure when you all are applying policies, right, to be very clear, to go with audit mode first. Don't enforce the policies if it is a deny policy, right? It may cause to restrict or block your entire tenant, right? So it may impact to entire people as well, right? So these are some set of policies, right? So I thought of creating some policies and doing some deep level practical, but with the time and all, I think we don't have much time to do that, right? So maybe we'll try with another session, but you all can, if you all have Azure portals, just go to this Azure policies thing and have a look, right? And tags also there, right? It's also simple, like you all can search for tags, right? And go for tags and see whether what are the tags you all enforce with your resources and resource groups and all, like freely you all can apply to them, right? So let's say if we take a particular resource group, right? You all can apply the tags from here, whatever the tags you need, right? You can put it, right? It will reflect to you, and you can search from the tag as well if you need to search the resource, right? And cost management, I think you all may know, right? So we can go to the cost management sheet and see the cost and utilization, right? And so if y'all place those things, policies and the tags and all the things, right? So first thing is from the policies, if y'all doesn't have the control of your resources, you can get the control. That's pretty sure y'all can get the control by applying the policies, right? And the unknown cost and all, y'all can get some kind of a forecast, right? Because by going to the budget alerts, cost alerts and all, and anomaly alerts also, I forgot it, apply the anomaly as well, because if you get a quick spike on your cost, you all can detect those anomalies. It's also, if it is an attack or something going on, you all can get alerted, right? If you are enable the anomaly alerts in cost, you all get the those alerts, and the reservations as well. If you have put any reservations on resources, those alerts also. And the waste is kind of resources that are underutilizing and resources that are unwanted, right? So those things you all can remove it, delete it, right? Even that R&D work that like if you are using for R&D and all, like after the R&D, you all can clean up there. Then the waste will not be there, cost will not be there. Clear? So real world cost side killers, right? So idle resources, right? Maybe your business is not running entire 24 hours. There are set of resources that you all can put automations and restrict them, right? Virtual machines, you all can put auto shutdown. If it is not a production workload, if it is development and all, keep it shut down, right? No harm, right? If it is not impacting the business, you all can do it. Oversized resources, try to do optimize them. If your resources are not utilizing, even 50%, you all can reduce the scale. Scalability is there in cloud, right? Use that, get the optimum output of that. Unused resources. I'm pretty sure in most of the tenants, they have unused resources. If you delete a VM, right, there can be unattached public IPs, disk, multiple, plenty of. Remove them. It will be a cost. No shutdowns, right? So you all can, if you are using PaaS, web services, anything, you all can put a automation. Simply put a PowerShell or something and shut it down. Cost will save, right? Okay. Comes to end with a quick fast end, right? Uh, keep these things in your mind, right? Governance will prevent the cost, right? Controls will prevent your cost. Maybe it won't get the visibility, right? No one will tell these things because if you properly apply these things, it will come to your cost as well. If will inflect your cost, right? Visibility will create your accountability, right? Because if you put the tags and all, you will get the visibility, fully visibility of your entire resources, right? And the control will reduce the waste. Cost optimizations all are kind of a control. If you have a proper control, like us, if you are taking the foods and junk foods and all, then no control, right? If you are taking healthy foods and all, it will be a control. Likewise, if you put all the controls into your tenant, right, and applying whatever the things you need and utilizing things, it will reduce the waste. Okay. Right. Okay. I think the Q&A, right? So first question, right? You all asking or I have to? Okay. Two.
Two.
Yeah.
Okay, two quizzes. So for those who are answering correct, so they also will be having a small gift as well. So you may just choose the
Yeah. What
preferred
happens if deployed without taxing?
yes.
These are not direct questions, right? So kind of a, if it is going with similar answers, expected answers, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Sorry. Okay. Anyone? You all have gifts, right? Impact means what sort of impact?
When you are considering about the billing cycle, we can identify the those
Visibility.
visibility.
Yeah. Anyone? No, right? I have to give.
Yeah, so you may come. So let's give a warm round of applause.
Right. Okay, so to give a quick answer, like if he doesn't have ownership, difficulty of tracking the cost, hard to find out unused resources, and reporting becomes difficult, right? So that's why mainly we use these tags, right? So visibility to get the visibility and the test controls and all, right? Other question will be like, let's take if what happens if developers, engineers in your organization can deploy any VM sizes without any restrictions.
So you may raise your hand and
Yeah.
Tisara will choose someone. The very first one
Oh.
who will be raising the hand, right?
Yeah, there are two people.
You may choose a one.
Okay. Who has raised the hand first? I don't know. You both guys discuss and tell me.
Deploy without any restrictions.
Hmm.
You will have subscription will cost for the organization. If that particular engineer will cost more, like, without restrictions.
Can you explain a bit more?
Like the engineers can deploy VMs
Hmm.
without restrictions,
Hmm.
and there is no limit to now, like for the cost perspective.
Yes, like, yeah, but the main idea of this is to get the controls, right? Because if we have the if we don't have any restrictions, right, anyone can deploy any resources, right? We don't get any control on them. So Azure policies we can use to restrict them. So yes.
So further,
Yes, yes. Yeah, it's also kind of a yes cost. Yeah. Yes, cost will increase, right? And people may deploy expensive services as well, right? We don't know whatever the services they deploy, we can without any controls and no control over spending as well, right? If he doesn't have any cost controls policies to restrict these resources, right? And yeah, it's up to ending, right? So thank you all, right? So for yes.
You can use the RI and saving plans for the cost optimization.
Yes, savings plans, the RIs are there. Reserved instances, savings plans we can use. Savings plans going with hourly basis, RI is going with the commitment. With 1 year or 3 year, now there are some services for 5 years as. Whatever the thing we are giving a commitment to Microsoft, they will give us as a discount. Right? Only thing is we have to make sure that our when we are commit something to Microsoft to get the discount, whether we are utilizing that fully. We are keeping that VMO resource for that particular time period. Otherwise, we are paying for the RI and we will not get that discount because we are paying something for which is not utilized. Right? That's why most of the people think of RIs are not giving us a benefit. Clear? Okay then. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Tisara, for this informative and insight.
Okay, fine. All right. So I'll be not going into in-depth concept level, but giving you a idea of what we have done, like in terms of prompting, because we have always done prompting. Like for the past 2 years, prompting has been something that we have like mastered. But the world has shifted to agentic technology since I think last year, mid of last year or end of last year. This year, most of the time we are talking about agents. So next year, the future, it would be a lot of multi-agent systems, not just agent deployment. So that's what I want to touch upon. Not in depth, but overall conceptual level and the main words that you can take home and do some research on. Okay. So just giving a background in terms of my profile. You can always follow me in LinkedIn. So I'm Aloka Visugunardana. I've done bachelor's in computer science. Those days, data science was very hot topic. So we all were like really tempted to go to data science because we had AI and nobody selected AI because it was no big deal. So I did data science and I did my master's in data science as well. And lot of certifications. Only the Microsoft ones are here, but kept on going towards AI because of the interest plus the industry demand. So now I think that was one of the biggest and the best choices that I've made in the like last 3 years itself. So if you're interested in AI, that's a good thing or a very plus point in terms of like your entire journey. So just going back to the topic which I've chosen today. I just search it. So beyond the prompting, architecture of future agentic AI ecosystems. So I'll be touching upon different domains and how those domains use AI in the current system. So sometimes you might think, okay, AI is only related to coders or the people who do the coding or already in IT itself. But Microsoft itself has introduced a product suite where it's not only just for the people who are doing IT, but it is more applicational level in different industries itself. So I'll be touching upon the agentic shift which has happened, and then cross-industry use cases where you will see the real life use cases which have come into place. And then the technology stack, this is what you have a lot of new words, new information that you can go and do some research on. Then trust and governance, which is a huge part when it comes to AI and the agents which you are deploying. And then not exactly the demo, but multi-agent workflows, how it works. Yeah. So the first one, agentic era. So this started back in, I believe, 2022, 2021-ish. All these models was introduced, but 2023 is where everyone came into like the public domain itself. But just imagine like it's 3 years back, but the revolution that it has like occurred or whatever it has done is immense. So the next 3 years definitely would be same. It's I've just recently looked at a podcast and it's told me like it's similar as the era where machinery was introduced. So people were really reluctant to use machinery, but eventually they used it, and they always thought the evolution itself, it would actually take off their jobs. But what it did was it created the white collar jobs, which we are doing, which all of us who are seated here are doing. So this domain or this industry would actually create another set of jobs. That's what you should target for. That's what we as people in IT field should target for. Yeah. So this is where we come across the word LLMs, large language models. So LLMs, earlier it was only GPT 3.5 Turbo, and it was like very generic. It was the model that we used, but with Anthropic's, the Opus, and everything introducing, it has shifted to another domain itself. So coming back to the generic AI applications which we had traditionally. So since everyone is almost like 3 or 4 years industry experienced, I think when you were going into university and you had this AI module, probably you have learned about a machine learning model, trained it, looked at the evaluation metrics, and looked at certain parameters. So that's what we did in like the early ages of AI, because AI consists of ML itself. So it's the entire domain. So in traditional generative AI, what generative AI is like 2023 afterwards, what it was introduced, it has all these features where you can generate text and responses, respond to isolated prompts, and then operate a single interaction, or APIs were not called in those things. So this is where we have the example of putting in a prompt to a ChatGPT, where we prompt it or where we ask it to write an email, write a description about a customer, a proposal about a customer. So these were like the things which it would like give us. But when it comes to agentic AI, where the entire shift has happened, there the main difference is we have a certain module or certain, almost like a person who is doing all the researching or all the like planning for us, the things that should happen, whether plan according to a specific task, actions, and what is the sequence that it should happen. And the next would be like, what is the tool that I have to ask for each of these things? Like maybe a API call, maybe connecting to a database, or at the end, how can I collaborate with another agent or a human? Example, I'll talk about this example because currently I'm working on it. So this is a multinational company who want to go into a multi-agent system with their call center. So they are a very specific pharmaceutical industry in USA. So their entire business is billions of dollars, and the call center is almost like 200, 300 callers. So they are shifting into. So they are currently using Dynamics call center as an agent CAS system. So their entire business is trying to give like 70% of it to a multi-agent system which we are building. So that's like 7, 8 systems which are integrated. So a lot of APIs are called, a lot of databases, sometimes in Dataverse, sometimes is SQLs. Different databases are called because we have to verify whether the correct customer is calling, whether they have enough like authority to get certain information. So all of this is done through the agents that we are building. So those are certain capabilities of agents. So coming into the core characteristics and the characteristics of an agent which is building, it has the capability of reasoning it out. You have to have that specific ability to evaluate whether it's the correct answer or not, and why are we using this answer. So next is planning. If there are certain steps which are involved, you definitely have to sequentially plan it, because this is not like a if condition that we are building. So the agent should have the ability and the understanding to plan it out. And then tool usage. if you're using any tools, third-party tools, how to code these tools. If a failure happens, what should be the next step? And then the memory. So it's retaining long-term memory and short-term memory, especially when you're keeping logs, when you're keeping certain records, whether it's all right to keep or not. Then anatomy, again, at the end of the day, it should have the 365 view where you actually connect to a human for approvals for any blockers which can occur. So what is the entire plan of, since we are at a Microsoft bootcamp, even though you are working in Azure or any other cloud like GCP maybe, but Microsoft has an entire vision where it want an assistant that respond, that collaborate, teammate, that acts. So that means you're not having an assistant which only respond. You're building an agent who would become a teammate, who would collaborate with you for all the tasks that you're doing. So the tools that I'm going to present, the tools I'm going to show is also certain acts where we are not considering it as a separate agent or separate code base that we have written to write, to do something. Sorry, I'm right-handed, so I turn to switch to this way. So sometimes I'll be missing out on y'all, so sorry about that. So the collaborate teammate is basically you're having another colleague, another person who would act with you itself. Okay, so key research areas or the key points in terms of entire vision of the Microsoft AI vision is it is basically having a better understanding or a big contribution about multi-agent orchestration. Earlier, we developed agents. Basically, agents are people or human mimicking modules who can reason out, who can plan. We looked at the characteristics. So who can do all those tasks and do a task for us. But going forward, it's not one agent that we're talking about. It'll be a multi-agent system. So basically, multi-agent orchestration would be how do these agents come together and work together. So it could be there are certain frameworks like supervisor agent or collaborator agents. There are frameworks that you can use. So the orchestration means how each of these separate agents comes together and works together. So that's the main idea. And human agent collaboration, seamless integrations of human oversight, which moment should a human intervene or human should step in and take actions. That's basically it. And AI memory systems. So context memory enabled agents which learn and adaptive over time. This is basically more like if you learn reinforcement learning in machine learning, it's the same as that where agent learns with the actions, the cases it builds, cases it solves itself. And autonomous workflows, the end-to-end workflows should be enterprise progressed and minimal human interaction or intervenes should happen. And responsible AI governance, it's a major issue where we are seeing whether the ethics, the compliances are being taken care of, even though if you are using a AI module itself. Moving on to the cross-industry use cases, we'll be touching upon healthcare, manufacturing in retail, and then finance, and lastly on science and research specific. So I have two interesting videos for healthcare plus manufacturing and retail. But the other things I'll be talking about from the experience or the projects that I've done itself. Let's look at this. I'm not sure whether I've shared the voice in Teams. Let me just stop sharing and I'll play it anyways if there is like any error that you can tell me. Seems like the sound is not. Do we have a problem in sound? Sound won't be connected. So, that's it. Maybe. It's not a down, no? No, this one. Yeah. Here, let me go.
Frontline workers are burning out, and less than half the global population has access to primary care, clinical trials, or life-saving treatments. The time to reimagine health.
Speaker, huh? Connect to this thing. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can skip that. Yeah, I can skip that. Yeah. 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 Sorry guys, we can't see the video for technical issues, so we'll skip that. But it's a bit of an interesting one. It's there in it's in Azure AI healthcare site. If you can go and check it out. Basically, it's their learning material, what they're doing right now with research labs in terms of research, what they're currently doing. It's mind blowing because whatever the computations that they did or the analysis that they did, they're already shifting it to agents and doing it by agents. They're just evaluating the results which comes from those. That's it. So just take a look because Microsoft has a separate I have referenced it in the slides as well, separate research site where you can go to Microsoft Research and search the research that they do. They're actually funding the research in each of those industries and testing out in their own labs, giving out the models itself. So all of these industry names, the company names, whatever those are blogged and certain articles are made and same as like this video. There are separate videos also, not in terms of like the research results itself, but overall idea about like a blob, what happens and what is the funding which is given from Microsoft itself. Okay, let me just brief about, yeah. So it's so these are certain aspects in terms of medical driven agents which you can build. First is clinical documentation. Clinical documentation is a huge task which all medical employees should go through. It's in Sri Lanka, definitely it's a manual task where they write it from hand in papers, but it could be systemized in a much more developed country, not like a third world country like us, but much more developed country. It would be systemized. It would have separate systems in computers. But the current world is going towards, even in a system, rather than inputting it using a tablet, using a computer, you are providing that entire scenario to an agent where it would go through past records of the patient, interact with the patient, give a summary of the health condition that particular patient was in the history. But most of the time, we don't give the ability or the power to take decisions over a ailment or a illness itself. But most of the time, we can take a good look at the past rather than spending on times to go through all the reports and take an idea. And then priority authorization, uh, automations, which is reviewing insurance policies. So in Sri Lanka, this is not a big deal since we have free medical. But if you are using private medical systems, insurance policies is something that we all worry about. So if your company is definitely covering it, no worries, the company is going through the hazard. But if you are taking that license or taking that insurance capability to your hand, you should go through each of the terms and conditions, the validity of the claims that you're putting in, and documentation work, then escalations that you have to build. If since we actually don't deal with these stuff or deal with these separately because our companies or the institute that we worked with are taking care of this is not a experienced thing for us. But if you're worked in overseas, or if you're experienced in family members going there, this is a huge task when you're considering medical insurance. So separate agents could be built in terms of handling these tasks. And these are actually becoming commercialized agents where you can purchase these agents to do all of the tasks. And then patient monitoring agents. So basically monitoring the wearable data. Some seen like since we are all real addicts, if you've seen low blood sugar monitoring videos. So those are things that need to be tracked 24 hours. It's not just from like a specific time period that you have to look at that data. Definitely throughout the day, you have to monitor those type of illnesses. So separate agents could be created. So even in a application that you download to the phone, you can create an agent where it could detect the data inside the wearable. And then if there's anomalies, that means that if there's a spike, if there's a low depth in your blood sugar levels, you can notify to your phone to a monitor which you're attached to, and get the patient notified and schedule interventions. That means going through all the reports and getting a better idea about the past behavior. Yeah. So agentic AI reports to have 40 to 60 reduction of administration burden, which is basically filling out forms, documentations. This could actually increase almost like 80% when it comes to, I'm not sure about it, Sri Lanka, but in most of the countries, it could go up to 80% where you minimize all the work that you are doing in terms of daily routine work in administration tasks. Yeah, let's move on to manufacturing. I have a cool tool video. I think I can't show that also. Let me try to. So basically, I'll just explain what is done through this tool. Microsoft has a tool developed as digital twin. You can go to their website. The learning materials are already there. You can deploy a lab there itself and see, where you can stimulate an entire warehouse or a factory using the tool itself. You can assign machinery, assign different pathways where your factory would work ahead and where your outlets would be at. So, and what is the enter point of your goods and all. So the digital twin stimulate the entire factory, so you know where the overhead comes and where the blockers are there. And this was actually in the beginning of the video, it showed this is actually used when they sent rockets to moon or space, and they stimulate the entire spaceship in the lab environment. Then only they started to develop it. So we've tested it out actually for one of the industries, which is an apparel company, where they had a lot of backlog materials which were created, and they wanted to know where it should be stored and what is the time each machine would take. So if the correct data is provided, you can stimulate your entire the whatever the ground flow or the flow that you're designing itself. So before you go to the actual manufacturing by purchasing the entire I don't know, blocks or the land, you can feel and touch the entire industry or the warehouse itself. That's the main understanding of digital twin. You basically build it virtually before you build it with materials. It's a very cool concept. There are a lot of videos and there are a lot of stimulation environments in Microsoft where you can check it out. Yeah. Not be playing the entire thing because it's just consuming time. So this could be actually used for supply chain distribution management, where you can see what is the backlog that you will have and what is the proper method to dispatch your products which you are currently having or producing, and then optimize procurements, negotiate with suppliers which time or which deadlines should you go ahead with, and then predictive maintenance in terms of how you are going to monitor the machines, whether you are attaching IoT devices where you track the temperature, the movement, the changes in the entire system itself, or detect sensor anomalies. Again, if there's a temperature rise, if there is a unwanted vibration in the machine itself, you can track everything. And the video, I believe, in the Microsoft learning platform, it mentions certain indicators where when the temperature is high, certain machines would beep. So you have the entire system or the entire plantation which is running upon would be connected to the digital twin, and the digital twin would be like a I hope everyone have seen Power BI dashboards. So it would be like a Power BI dashboard for the plantation managers who would look into the plant rather than go walking through the plant itself. Okay. Yeah. So digital twin and the agentic AI. So yeah. And so in Microsoft manufacturing stack, we have Microsoft Fabric, the digital twins, the autonomous agents, and real-time intelligence. These are few of the tech stacks or technologies which could be used in terms of tracking the entire manufacturing section. So Microsoft Fabric, I'll be touching upon that in the next few slides, mostly for the data storing, because the data which we get is not always tabular format. It would not be like Excel format. It'll be a lot of unstructured, semi-structured data. IoT devices would be indicating certain videos, certain logs, which may be like text files, probably not text files, like just like APIs. And then you would also have semi-structured data in terms of storing. You have to use a unified platform which is capable of storing everything. So that's why we are using Microsoft Fabric itself. So Azure Digital Twin would be the tool which you implement all this together. Autonomous agents on top of digital twin could take decisions on behalf of you when certain anomalies or certain things happen. Then real-time intelligence is where you connect your IoT devices, the streams which is coming from IoT devices into the platform and get understanding about the data real time itself. So real time intelligence is actually a part, inbuilt section in Microsoft Fabric itself. Let's go to retail and finance. So this is also a little bit tricky area, because finance, we know insurance companies, then banks are really afraid of cloud, because it's again PII data, personal identifiable information. You are not supposed to store PII data in cloud according to the PDPR regulations. So definitely you have to be identified, or you have to be acknowledged about those flows. So there are certain agents like these agents where you can deploy, where agentic commencing, where it would look at the products or product lines that you're having and predict or tell what is the pricing that you have to give ahead. Or customer service agents, these are certain agents which is common regardless whichever the industry that you're going ahead with. When it comes to finance, autonomous financial operations, mainly with reconciliations and fraud detections or monitoring certain transactions or tasks, and generating certain compliance issues. So for reconciliation and fraud detection, I've worked in certain projects where the three-way matching is a very difficult task and a very popular use case, where you check with the PO and invoice and the GN. So all these things can be used or can be turned into an agent, but depends on the company policies, because everything would be stored in cloud. So that means your client, customer information would be on cloud. Then agentic marketplace, where AI to AI transactions could happen. Automate procurement negotiation. I don't think that would, in terms of practicality, it would happen, because a procurement should always go through a agent, or at least to a certain level you can produce the procurement, but approvals and final release should definitely be through a human agent. In the future, maybe it will become probably automated. Dynamic contact optimizations could be done definitely in the finance domain itself. So the future of AI to AI has already built, but not to a extent where we come across day to day and in daily life. But probably in the next 3 years, I'm pretty sure AI to AI communication or multi-agent starting conversations, then developing conversation, reasoning out, and giving out the output itself, it will definitely happen in the upcoming next 3 years. In terms of science and research, this is a really interesting area. If you have followed last year's Nobel Prize for I think it was science or innovations, was given to a research lab. I cannot remember the name, but it's basically the concept is they input certain protein DNAs to the model. So they've used a large language model which could generate certain similar DNAs or protein DNAs. So what the model actually produced is the world, all the proteins or all the DNA types which could exist in the world itself. So apart from that, it's like trillions of combination of DNAs. So apart from those trillions of combination, there couldn't be anything else. So actually, we have only discovered as scientists or as people who are doing research on medical side have only discovered about 5% of it. So all the other 95% of the DNA types or DNA categories were discovered, and their formulas, how they are used, what is the naming that you should give for those, everything was suggested. And what they did, that organization or the research group, what they did was they made it public, where everybody could use that model, that results, and they could do their research on top of it. So it will be an advantage for medical side, medical innovations, then medicine development, understanding the like illnesses, everything. So it was a benefit for a huge industrial like revolution. So they were awarded the Nobel Prize. The entire team was awarded the Nobel Prize. So that's the power of LLMs or AI, what it could do in terms of science and research. So just touching upon the if you're building a multi-agent system in terms of research, first thing what you can do is this is a really good research if you're doing for a research agent building. You can build a research agent who would analyze your data, analyze the papers that you are providing, basically a RAG system, or not a RAG, but where you give the context, give your data, give the papers that you want, first do the research, then review it using another agent, validate, critique, whatever the results which is provided from the first agent itself, and then experiment on top of the results which is generated. So once the critiques and validations come into place, you do the evaluation, you do some corrections, then experiment on top of this, design and run tests over it, and finally analyze what comes out of it. So this is like the synthesized findings. So this manual process which a normal researcher would go through for months, maybe years, is actually omitted. So your entire research program would be fast-tracked for maybe 6 months, which it should be like 5 years of research. Okay, so that's the main idea of research itself. Yeah, so you can now take or give research literature reviews 10 times faster. I think everyone has used it Perplexity is great with doing that. If you've used Notebook LM, it's really good and really underrated. If you have not tried it, try it out. So so whatever the research that we are doing, or is almost like 1/10 of the research which comes to the entire industry, like medical research and everything. But I'm not underestimating whatever the research that we are doing, but in terms of bigger industrial research, this would make revolutionize like discoveries, because it's just cutting down 5 years of time into 6 months almost. Yeah. Let's come to the technology stack. I know a little bit behind in time. I'll just quickly drive through this. So main understanding, if you have used AutoGen, it's an entire framework which is built to communicate or orchestrate multi-agent systems. So this is an open source multi-agent orchestration system or technology, which is developed by Microsoft. So they developed it, they invested on it, but they made it public, which is open source. So just go through maybe a tutorial or some understanding. This would bring you a lot of understanding about how 2 or 3 agents would work together and how you can use this framework in terms of agent building. So it has these 5 features, which is multi-agent conversations. Definitely, it can talk to several agents. Tool calling, if you're calling a separate tool using an API, using external services, you can do that. Then event-driven architecture, where you have a certain workflow and it goes towards that. And then human in the loop, if there is something which you want to be approved or a critical decision is need to be made, a human would come into place. Then extensive memory, whether you have to keep memory of whether it's long term or short term, you should keep it with the agent or not. It's entirely designed by the framework itself. Yeah. So it has all of these capabilities. I'll run through the next one as well. Next is the semantic kernel. I think at least few of y'all should use it. It's a very common one. This is a semantic kernel is a framework which came with, I think, 2024 or 2025 beginning. Yeah, which is very common when you first started to build agents. This actually shows us how to use the LLM and communicate with the LLM, or have to basically conversational programming with the LLM itself. So it has several capabilities. Again, plugins, you can plug in certain tools, APIs, and the memory, where you should keep the conversation or the task itself saved, and then planning the next goals or next tasks that you have to do, and connectors. So here you can connect. So since this is mainly built upon LLM orchestrations or LLM communication, you can plug in certain different LLMs into this framework. So maybe your tool calling would be done through OpenAI, but maybe the simple task like summarization would be done through a Hugging Face model, which is a cheaper model, not using this entire big OpenAI model. So we know Azure is expensive, so we are not using Azure for summarization or for rank. We're using a Hugging Face freely available model, which you can use. So likewise, certain different LLMs or different models could be integrated in the same thing. Yeah, let's go to the next one. I think this is very common, where you have gone through certain sessions where Copilot Studio. Copilot Studio is a no-code, low-code platform. It's basically just drag and drop. You can build your own agent within like 15 minutes. If you're dragging and dropping it, if you're prompting it out, which is Copilot inside Copilot Studio. I know this could be confusing. Copilot Dynamics 365 or Copilot itself is inside Copilot Studio. So you can prompt out what you need and give it out. So it will build everything and the final agent would be there. So in terms of Azure AI agent services, this is much more like pro code, and this is a low code, no code solution. So so you should have the agents in Azure has the capability about like security identities, tool connections, and observability, and the governance itself. So all these things we have to take care, and it contains those actions as well. I'll skip this part, but just giving an overview, because I've touched upon this, Microsoft Fabric is a entire platform which Microsoft has developed, where they had Power BI as a separate service, Azure Synapse or Azure SQL as a separate service. They sold everything as separate products, but recently, like in 2023 or 2020, late 2022, they collaborated everything and they introduced a unified platform where all the tools are there as Fabric. So this is an entire separate domain where you can learn and get to know. So when it comes to agent building, one of the main things is the how to trust and how to govern it. So main problems that it could occur is agent sprawl. That means it expand the sessions, or it widely spreads the sessions, it hallucinates, or it autonomously take actions without any approvals. These are bad risks or bad attacks that we could go ahead with. So we have to control this. There are certain checkpoints that we can collaborate. So human approved checkpoints could be included, then policy enforcements using guardrails, then auditing logs, everything which happened inside the agent, we can keep a log. Then with security, we can have a zero trust. We are verifying every interaction and every step that the agent is taking. And role-based access controls could be taken ahead. Then if you're building your agent inside a sandbox, certain applications or certain restrictions could be there in the sandbox environment itself. Yeah. So additional ones, prompt injection attacks. This is very rare, but it could happen where your entire system prompt could be changed. And then tool exploitation, certain tool is called multiple times, and data leakage risk. That's definitely there. So the happy part, or to mitigate all of these things, we have to have the observability and the correct understanding about the agent. So this open telemetry for agents is a framework which is mainly used for this observability. So when it comes to agent governance, agent trusting, this word open telemetry is really popular. So it's an open source metrics where we look at all of these factors, which is reasonability, traceability, reasoning traceability, workflow debugging, performance monitoring, and compatibility or compliance auditing. So these four are mainly checked in OpenTelemetry. Yeah, so it has given an example. Yeah, so basically it's an example on top of all the frameworks that we have talked about so multi-agent systems. We talked about AutoGen and then LLMs. Since it's Microsoft, Azure OpenAI, or else Hugging Face, or any other platform which provides you the APIs, memory in terms of connections and building the framework semantic kernel, and for the data layer, you can use Microsoft Fabric. Yeah. I think I'm on time. I have 5 minutes. Basically, the key takeaways are whenever you're building your agent, the first thing is you have to find or you have to reason out whether normal SC or normal software engineering project could do this. Okay, so whether a normal if-else statement or a while statement could do this. If it cannot do it, then go for a agentic technology. Otherwise, people would not invest in it because it's a huge investment that you have to make. So definitely you have to find the correct problem to solve using agentic technology. So agentic technology is used to replace a human, otherwise not a stated out program itself. So that's basically it. I think I've touched upon a lot of words, frameworks, and takeaways. So to finish it off, we have a quiz. You can scan the QR and join the quiz. Let me go to the Slido as well, where you can scan that. Do we have any questions before that? Do you have any questions before going to the chat? Do you have any questions? No. Seems like I was so clear. So it's basically a quiz with 10 questions. It's time-based. It gives you points on time base and the correct, accurate answer. Okay, so just to see whether you have been listening, and you get something, right? I think at the end. Okay, has everyone joined, or you need a couple of minutes? Still need a couple of minutes. We have like 46 members. So 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So almost like 30. 7, 14. Little bit more, right? More than this? Okay, shall we start? Okay. Okay. Anyone else? No. Let's start then. Okay. Can you all see the first questions? Okay, second question. What is the primary difference between traditional generative AI and okay, most of y'all got the answer correct. That is 86%. So it's basically agentic AI can reason, plan, and take autonomous actions. Let's go to the next question. Question 2. Sorry, wait. Yeah. Which of the following is not considered a core characteristic of agentic AI? Okay. Yeah, almost everyone, 95% got it correct. It's manual only execution. It's the word only that makes a difference. Let's go to the next question. Which Microsoft framework is specifically designed for multi-agent orchestration? Okay, so it's actually AutoGen. Um, almost 70%, 69% got it right. Then next question. What is the primary role of semantic kernel of Microsoft AI ecosystem? Cool, cool. You've been listening. Since it's a hard question, 98% got it correct. It's basically conversation between the LLMs. Good job. Let's go to the next one. Which Microsoft platform is primarily targeted towards low code and no code agentic AI agent creations? Yeah, so I think you get the hard questions correct, but it's uh, Copilot Studio got 87%. Let's go to next question, sixth question. In healthcare, agentic AI can help automate which of the following? Yeah, the correct answer is prioritize or priority authorization workflows. It's not surgical robotic manufacturing only. So that's the difference. And GPU optimization, no. What is the purpose of human to human loop, human in the loop governance? Yeah, the correct answer is to ensure humans can review critical AI decisions. That's the correct answer. Seventh question. Oh, sorry, eighth question. Which Microsoft technology provides the unified data foundation for agentic AI system? So the word is data foundation. Yeah. So the answer is Microsoft Fabric, where we have the data layer on top of Microsoft Fabric. Ninth question, one was the last one. What is the primary purpose of OpenTelemetry in agentic AI systems? Cool, cool. You get the raw, like difficult questions really well. I don't know why. Last question. Let's go. What security threat specifically targets AI prompts and instructions? Yeah, it's basically prompt injection where the system prompt could be manipulated. Okay, let's review the leaderboard. Who is Kamu? Yeah, I'm supposed to give it. Good job.
So let's give a round of applause. Second place I've gotten Ashay. The third place goes to Bodhika.
Yeah. Okay. Good job, guys, because everyone has got 10 out of 10 who are in the leaderboard. I think up until the first 15, you've got 10 out of 10. So good job. It's just, oh, it's a tie between 2 and 3. Yeah, good job. Thank you, everyone. Any questions at the last minute? No? Then we can wind up. Yes. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Anuka, for this insightful session. So if you do have any question, any concern regarding AI and data science, so I think that she's an expertise. So you can ask any question or any concern that you are having so far after the session as well, right? So, thank you so much, Anuka, for this insightful session. So let's give a warm round of applause. Thank you. So we also have somebody will be. So guys, let's have the lunch. Till like about 1 p.m. So let's get started with the third technical session. So today we have Rizmi Rasik, who is the head of hybrid cloud engineering at digital team and who is also a Microsoft certified trainer. So he will be conducting the session on FinOps on Azure, maximize ROI with smart cost strategies. Over to you, Rizmi.
Thank you. Am I audible to the virtual audience there? Need a quick ground confirmation. All good. Thanks. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for your time. In fact, this is the third session. I'm representing digital team as the head of hybrid cloud engineering and an Azure practice lead, plus a certified trainer, as you mentioned. And with that, we'd like to welcome everyone once again. And the topic is all about FinOps on Azure, finance, operations, and amalgamation of both, which means cloud is an cloud means your operations where it runs mostly, and the financials are the commitments and the investment where you make. So how best you can get the ROI, the return of investment when it comes to the cloud utilization is going to be the topic, and the strategies and the techniques and how you can leverage those techniques as a playbook when it comes to your operation throughout your the journey at your workspace, or even when you're using cloud in your personal point of view. Agenda for today, I'll start with how the good piece of it looks like when it comes to the combination of finance and operations, and how the engineering evolves when it comes to the the cost optimization under the defined framework of the FinOps given by Microsoft and Azure. Then I'll take you to the quick wins, how you can identify those wins when it comes to the optimization, because the word optimization is an effort, and how you can be finding those easily, natively given by Microsoft within Azure portal. The advanced aspect would be how you can be using your own methodology to filter and drill down further to get some deeper aspects where you can be doing the cost savings via this FinOps strategy. Third is the tagging strategy. Definitely the tagging is important because that is how the cloud will identify your resources. Because end of the day, the native cloud resources will be there for your usage, and you will be good at deployment, you'll be good at your integration and the fine tuning. But however, the visibility when it comes to the platform of the Azure will be revealed via the tagging. And again, the savings can also be monetized using the tagging strategy, but you will be getting within the FinOps platform. Compute optimization, mostly you will be ending up with the IaaS, which means infrastructure as a service, where you'll be using the compute, the service across all your requirements. So I believe most of you would have come across some strategies where reserve instances or how you can define your scaling. And some of them will be interested in talking about the spot instances. And likewise, there will be multiple strategies under the compute optimizations, which you can leverage and streamline your FinOps, the journey under the cloud. SQL database, because mostly the VM with the SQL is not a new norm. And again, the Azure SQL database is something the serverless and the cloud native will definitely be evolving with. So in that, how best you can be enabling the practices of cost saving and the cost optimization is going to be another the agenda item in my deliverables today. The thing is the log analytics and the monitoring is again important, because this is where the hidden the cost surge happens in your invoices. So when you come, when you get an invoice, you will be familiar with certain the services and the products, but mostly from the log analytics and the monitoring, how it impacts and how best you can be fine tuning and what are the aspects you have to focus will be discussed under this. And then the strategy metrics, like once you identify what needs to be done, how you can be defining a quick playbook where you can apply the same across all your these services, irrespective of the production or non-production, because the logs will definitely be consumed when it comes to your services. Governance under the engineering, because you will be a heavy engineering aspect when it comes to the deployment, but how best the governance you can be leveraging within Azure is again an important thing. So I'll give you the tips and tricks plus the enablement you should be doing within Azure. So the governance can also be integrated as a part of your FinOps journey. Let's talk about the real world experience and what will be the ROI, and with some stats given by Microsoft. And with the experience and exposure that I have gained working with multiple clients, what are the use cases under which we have enabled certain savings, and what it can be taken when it comes to the overall the practice you are going to emphasize under a playbook for enabling your optimization strategies for your organization or for your personal need. Feel free to ask any questions when you go through the slide decks and the discussion. And at the end, I have got 5 questions, will be simplified one, and I'll make sure who can be answering those, and definitely will be, giving sort of a token of appreciation for all your effort you're going to put. With that said, this is what all about, because every hands around the table, they work towards enabling the engineering practices in Azure. So 2 aspects we always face. One will be reactive, the other one will be proactive. Mostly we are going to shift from the reactive to proactive, because we don't want a scenario where we have spent continuously a huge amount for 3 months without a context, and the 4th month we are going to optimize. No, that's not something we are not really looking into that aspect. So proactively, if you can identify, if you can implement, and if you can see the outcome, that is what all about this FinOps practice. Even though the word FinOps, but it's something of financial I mean, for the implication of the financial term, but still from the operation perspective, how you are going to, help hand in hand so that, the billing will also be streamlined, not just the performance efficiency, not just the security, not just your operational excellence as a part of your deployment, but still you're giving an effort to streamline the financial aspect so that your billing will be, I would not say static, but there will be dynamic because based on your growth on Azure, but still you will be having a proactive approach of, identifying and applying the right strategy to monetize as well as to optimize. So there are some common costlies whenever you deploy Azure, whenever you deploy a service, and you might not, check in depth what will be the next stage of that, the service, whether it can be enabled with the reserved instances, whether you can bring a committed engagement with the partner Microsoft so that your utilization, your consumption is going to be dynamic, even though, but still you are giving a commitment, okay, next 12 months, I'm going to use this product with this timeline, with this time window, and this is how I'm going to do it. But I can commit per month this much of a consumption, a usage. So I need a commitment from Microsoft, some savings commitments there. Or else, if you are capable of identifying your services or your application side, which needs a static an infrastructure, which needs which is a dynamic form, so that you can be bringing some serverless, or which is a one-time engagement. Let's say you're going to run a batch operation. It's going to be once in every month. So for that, we don't want a virtual machine running 24/7. And for the 30 days, no, that's not the healthy practice at all. So what you need is something, a limited time window base available, but still, even if it becomes unavailable, but still your work will be done in that stipulated time window. So the spot instances come into that. So you should have that, understanding where you can use those services. So mostly when you have that, healthy practice, you'll be avoiding the leak patterns happening within your cloud, and that you will be, reducing when it comes to the overall cost. ROI is the word that we all love with this session, and we're going to see how practically we're going to achieve in all the aspects we are going to look in. First entry point, I mean, the first checkpoint, I would say, you have to have a look into this Azure Advisor. How many of you have seen the Azure Advisor? Excellent. So this gives a tailored outcome when it comes to all your subscription, because the environment that I have been working, that I have worked before, are multiple subscription based. A subscription in Azure, it's the billing entity where you will be creating all the resource groups, which are the compartments for storing your resources. This is how the hierarchy is all about. So subscription wise, you will be able to see where are the low hanging fruits, which means the opportunities that you can, say, can identify to apply those across the impacted resources within the subscription. So subscription count, it appears there, and you can see the potential saving in USD. This is how, the unified the portal for all, but still you will be able to see how based on the currency that you are really looking, we'll be able to get that figure as well. When it comes to this filtering, it's very important because, the commitment equals for 3 years, because Microsoft always keeps that, the utilization and the forecast for the 3 years, and for the last or the 60 days of the usage, they have amalgamated into this, and they have given the recommendation based on that. However, you still have the capability to create a remediation digest saying the subscription that the advisor itself looks into that is only for 30 days, but still you can extend it for 90 days. If you really want that VM to be monitored for 90 days, and you will be able to specify that. So according to that, the figures will be changed, and the impact analysis will also be done under that recommendations. So when you see the recommendations, you can see something says quick fix. That means easy to apply. For an example, if we take the right sizing, when it comes to the right sizing, it's all about the family, the capacity that virtual machine has been allocated in Azure. The recommendation says, based on the utilization for the last 30 or the 60 days, you can still go for a lower edition or the lower specification of that VM. And that's where this recommendation comes, and with the tag called quick fix, which means you can easily switch. And when you're going to switch the family or the category of that virtual machine, do we need to bring down the server? Or we can do without bringing down or without deallocation of the server? Because the primary challenge is how we can bring a downtime, because we deploy the server. We have defined the sizing. Now all of a sudden Azure says we need to reduce, but workload runs. It could be a production one, it could be a non-production. If it is non-productions, we can feel free to do it at any time, right? Even in a business hour, it's feasible to do. But however, if it is a critical production workload it's running in, and if you want to bring down, you may think, okay, bringing down is something viable as per the Azure advisor, but we can't do that. Reason we need to deallocate or turn off the server and change. No, Microsoft has come up with a different strategy. Even without turning off, you will be able to change. So the word quick fix, exactly, it helps. So even without turning off the VM, you can simply execute those. Simply click this and apply for all 4 virtual machines if you agree and if you're okay to go to that, because it will give current specification and it will not be going to the lower edition in terms of the CPUs and the RAM. But however, it's still, I'm sorry, there's an outage. My bad. Yeah. So still, you'll be able to, there will be apple to apple match between the 2 specifications, but still you'll be having the same performance, but the lower in terms of the pricing, they'll be lower. So this can be achieved, and same like that, others are like the reserved instances. If your environment has, let's say, cost on demand, because the pay as you go is the default pricing, the strategy for all the services. More you use, more you will be paying. However, when you keep on using the services, you will be able to realize, okay, this workload is now long-term in my organization. So I don't want the pay as you go. The next stage will be reserved instances. So I can bring either 1 year or 3 year. That means I'm going to commit that VM for 1 year. Let's start with that. And if it is a good fit, then I can continue for the next 3 years. Either 1 year or 3 year, you have the flexibility to pay month on month, because earlier the design was you have to pay upfront. So you lock that, upfront the cost for the 12 months. But now if the same facility, but you'll be getting a month on month an installment plan for your reserved instances. So those are identified by this platform itself. It's easy to, quickly list which VM need that reserved instance under the term 1 year or 3 year, and you will be able to take it up with Microsoft. You can, when you are in the portal, you'll be able to buy that. It's easy. It's easy. It's simple as that. You'll be able to purchase it. And when you purchase, your billing every month, there will be a recurring cost. That is what that monthly the component adds in. So you can strategically plan either the last week of the month or the second week of the month. Because in the second week of the month and the next second week, so the first week consumption, you will be able to streamline and see, okay, there's not there, because if you buy the big chunk, and that will hit the second week the consumption as well. So you have to be mindful when you are going to purchase. So gather everything, go to the option of the last month, and you'll be hitting in the next month. So you won't be having a surge immediately, but you will eventually be ending up with that, paying for the RI, but you have enabled RI. Likewise, you can see the savings plan as well. Savings plan is a different strategy. We'll be able to talk there when it comes to the computer, the optimization. And if there are underutilized, non-utilized, idle services, will also be listed here. That's a waste, right? Because end of the day, you have created, someone would have created, or someone would have deleted the VM, but not the disk. This could be a premium. Just imagine in such a situation, you will be getting a bill every month, which is a huge component, hidden, but still you are paying unnecessarily. So make sure that you will be able to, have a once a day or once a week, depends on your sprint and availability. You'll be able to create a practice to look into this and identify which workloads under the cost. There are other well-architected framework practices associated with this, like operation excellence, security, performance efficiency, and whatnot, and all 5, and the cost as well. But the cost is the dashboard and the output that I have listed here. I mean, are you all familiar with this? Have you all used this, or do you all regularly look into this? Which is good end of the day. So when you really tend to create some savings out of your engagement. I'm coming to the tagging strategy, because the next slide will have a real pain point which I have addressed in many organizations, even in the current. So I'll be able to show some the context, like how it will be helpful in your case. Model is all about tagging and a value. So you have to have the tagging strategy defined. You have resources. All the resources will be in a resource group, and those resource groups will be under a subscription. That is how the hierarchy within the Azure. You may be having an ideology, okay, the best practice of tagging is resource-wise, which is good. I would say when you tag the resources, go for a resource group base, because resource group is a logical compartment for all your resources. Most of the organization, just correct me if I'm wrong, there can be a mechanism of chargeback. Multiple domains, multiple business units, or if it is a conglomerate like John Keel's, you will be having multiple. We are providing from the central IT the resources. Early days, it used to be the capex, the hardwares we used to procure, and we used to provide them. And then it became virtual machines. Now we are providing from Azure. So when it comes to Azure, we are providing virtual machine 1, 2, 3, and other components like when it comes to the backup, when it comes to some other extensions we are making. So everything becomes a services, a product-wise we are enabling. Instead, tagging individual resources, go for a resource group base. So when you go for a resource group base, then you can achieve the cost center defined. Cost center is the name of the business unit. The owner is there in charge of that business unit or the business owner. Application is something that you name end of the day. And the environment is a production or a non-production. So your resource group, the reason why I'm saying to go for a resource group level tagging, it will be useful and helpful when it comes to your cost analysis and the management dashboard, which I will show you next or in the upcoming slides. So when you have the tagging mechanism, we can expect the individuals to follow the code of conduct as we instruct, or we can do some enforcement using Azure policies. Azure policy, we can say by hook or crook, you should be having the 3 or 4 or 5 tags at any given time. So we are in safe hands. End of the day, whatever intended will be applied. Rest they can keep on adding that we can filter, but the mandated ones will be applied via the policy. So the tagging is something that we can start applying under this model and come for the enforcement via the policy. Main thing is the showback. They'll be able to retrieve the cost deeper than the other aspects. If you simply click a virtual machine, the cost of that virtual machine with that OS provided by Microsoft will be there. If you really want the cost for the VM and the cost for the storage associated with that VM, there can be multiple disks, right? OS plus the data disk, and the NIC, and the Azure backup associated with that, and the ingress and the egress for that VM, and all can be monetized, all can be seen in the Azure, the cost management, if it is tagged to a resource group and if we filter the resource group. And that's what the importance of tagging towards the resource group, and that will enable more visibility when it comes to the cost of the overall application or the cost center that you are targeting for your chargeback. How many of you have seen these slides? I mean, this is how the tagging it applies to VM. I just captured from a virtual machine. If you see an application, it's a domain controller. So there can be multiple domain controllers, right? But still fine, I'm just tagging it in the domain controller with the resource level I'm showing in. And even the Defender in Azure, it works based on the tag. Now they have refined in a way. So they will refer this tag value. So if I have defined like this, so every day 6 o'clock, it will check that server. So that means you are bringing a unified practice via the tagging, not only for the cost, but still the cost is something that we are targeting today, but still you can leverage the tagging for the other operational excellence as well. Quick description, environment and owner, and these 5 are must. And with this update, I'm not missing the update. I'm not missing the Defender checkpoints every day. And I'm not missing the environment to which I'm going to deploy. And I'm not going to miss application name and the environment, because I'll be satisfied with whatever intended tags will be coming out from this practice. Rest will be up to them to tag whatever as they want, but still I have the flexibility to filter and take. This is an outcome from an Azure policy. See, I have mandated these parameters, and I'm applying across ID for a resource group. And that entire resource group, whatever you create, you have to have that. Without that, they cannot create it. So if you enforce, that means we are in safe hands, because we get, end of the day, the governance, the compliance report healthy as long as all tags are applicable. Who have used this practice of Azure policies when it comes to. Excellent. And here, if you see, you can locate the subscription. As I said, this is the billing the entity and the accumulated cost, all inclusive. You can filter based on the tag value, which is the important factor here, because here, if you select based on the tag, you will get the I mean, you can just change this view, whether it's a graph view or a table view, and you will be able to get the accumulated. There you can group based on the service family. Then go for the service family compute how much, network how much, storage how much. There you go. You get the two views. One is a service family, which will be the output that Microsoft shares every month under this invoicing. And you have the view, the better view, cost center wise, because your service center, the cost center, sorry, is going to be your resource group where you have the resources. So these three are heavily used when it comes to your tagging and when you want to see the outcome for the utilization of your cloud, the components, and again the consumption. And when it comes to the invoicing, if you are requested to do the reconciliation, okay, you have got this and you want to do an analysis and identify what will be the lower hanging fruits you're going to address immediately or the middle level, and something strategically you have to plan with multiple stakeholders in your organization to have the better outcome. So tagging plays a crucial role, and you will be able to leverage in that way. This is a classic use case most of you would have come across. I would like to hear at the end whether you have already applied this practice or not. When you create a virtual machine, it's going to run 24/7 unless you turn off or unless you deallocate and keep for a certain time. But we can't be doing it, with some click ops, right? Manually, we can't be doing always. If you need a practice, let's say you have two different environments, production and non-production. Productions, we can't touch and bring such practices because it has to cater the production for which 24/7 the operations you're going to provide for. However, when it comes to non-production, UAT, they have beta, staging, TAT, whatever. What you can do is every day morning 7 o'clock, start that VM. So by 8 o'clock, it will have been started up with all the integrations and the communication established and the hostings or whatever within that, if it is IIS based. And evening 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, shut down the VM. So when that happens, the operational hours will be limited for those VM. What you will be finding is let's see. Is this visible to everyone? Until it gets done, I don't know why it happens. Can you all see the screen over there? Perfect. So the practice what I'm trying to explain is the virtual machines can be tagged, saying about an auto start and auto stop. Those are the two tag values. When those are tagged, and when that is set true, and I'm bringing a scheduler as a part of the Azure automation account. Do you all know there is an Azure automation, the SaaS service? What it does is it gives the option to run the scripts with PowerShell or the Bash, or you can bring some Python, the Boto3 modules as well within that to run. So I have a logic defined using PowerShell. Whenever a VM is created with the two tag values, let's say start and stop, applied, provide the scheduler and execute it and state the action, it's met. So I apply the tags for appropriate VM and it's automatically going down every day 6 o'clock. And next day morning 7 o'clock, it's up. Just imagine a bunch of servers you are managing your environment, 20, 30 of, right? Especially the non-production when you have multiple environments. This has saved a huge amount when it comes to the non-production, the VM consumption. We've been applying it as an IP across all. So it's easy, even the AVDs, because we are providing the AVD, because we are a virtual team. And even the stakeholders are virtually connecting. We don't provide laptops end of the day. We provide AVD, which is a virtual desktop from Azure. Even the AVD, because we don't have a mechanism to go deeper with these, saving strategies like RI, whatnot. The best approach is, to bring this mechanism of an orchestration, which will shut down the virtual machine or that AVD, and that will be, offline and idle when it comes to the operation. AVD, the same script can be extended when somebody connects while this is deallocated and down, and it will turn up again. So we have the flexibility. So we as an IT team won't be reached by anyone whenever they want to bring up a server, especially in AVD. But however, the server operation time we can restrict. So this is a nice use case where we have used the tagging. The box represents the tagging, how that helps. The schedule is there. Even though the schedule, we can integrate and amalgamate into the scheduler, auto stop and auto start. And I have another third one based on the use case. We just, evolved with that as well, which is the extended hours. Some might request, I need this server another 2 hours. So we don't want to change the algorithm or whatever, or the orchestration from the runbook to here. We can simply bring another tagging and give that flexibility for them. So they'll be able to have that VM running for that extended hours. The rest will be, becoming deallocated when it comes to 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, the schedule you're going to make for. So the importance and the power behind this, tagging plus the orchestration, and more towards, savings, big dollar values as a part of this FinOps. Compute, because mostly our workloads are today running on compute. Compute, when we create, we have compute with on-demand cost. We pay for the consumption, the hours we get out of the running the hours of that VM. When you have pay as you go, and when you realize, okay, if it is a domain controller, we are not going to shut down, we are not going to delete at any point, right? We will definitely be using it for the rest of the life in cloud when you move or when you create newly in Azure. So you can, categorize the workload and identify which need to undergo the RI. And enable RI, start with one year if you have some type financial commitments or some concerns or whatever, if you have not budgeted, if you are starting it up in halfway through, or go for the 3-year one. And you have the biggest saving ever can be brought into the your workloads from Azure, and that will give that benefit as well. When you enable RI, okay, RI is applicable for the compute cost. Compute has 2 components. One is your hardware, the other one is the license component. So the best approach for saving your license is not the licensing given by Azure, but still you can bring your on-prem licenses to Azure. So if you have a software assurance, if your organization have a software assurance or any other commitments with Microsoft in terms of licenses, your hybrid benefit is simply a tick box you can enable, and you will realize the saving is about 80% end of the day across the workload. Because this has helped a lot, because any VM we move today, we always ensure the hybrid benefit is applied. That has saved the best that we have ever committed to a client. Right sizing and commitment alignment, it's a mix and match. You go for the right sizing always, or if you don't know how to make the right sizing, start with that. An advisor will give you. The previous advisor will show you. Though you have deployed this, end of the day, your right sizing is this, bring down. But it's a bit of reactive. So if you can be proactive with the learning, and you'll be able to start. So the right sizing and enable with the RI, and that will unleash you the best saving ever. Savings plan is again a flexible term. There you provide a commitment. Here you commit the workload for the 12 months or 24 or 36 maximum. Here you commit a bill value. Okay, my workload will run per hour. I give this much, and for the month, this much, and for the year. If you don't meet, you are still paying for this. And you cannot get rid of it. The penalty clauses here are slightly higher than the RI. RI still, the monthly one will be lower, but still good if you have any of these workloads are dynamic and evolving better in your tenant, think over it, because your actual recommendations coming from your advisor is going to be effective when it comes to apply the savings plan across your workload. Spot instances, some workloads you may need limited time. That's a win-win situation in spot instances, because you will run your required reports or the batch process and everything. and that will work seamlessly. And there is Microsoft, when they provide that VM, they can deallocate in their own SLA, because we can't provide a guaranteed SLA for this. It can be deallocated by Microsoft anytime. So the limited time that they will be giving, but the savings are huge. So when you categorize your workload, one-time operations, script running, use that, because the script anyway is stateless, right? You have the script running in your GitHub or somewhere in the Azure repo. That can be pulled, run that, and release. Your VM is not required, but most of the organization, they keep a jump box always. Anything, everything, they'll be setting it up here. Come out of that phobia. So you don't want a VM at all. So you can simply get rid of that. Emphasize the practices of CI/CD. You still have the free basic, the Azure DevOps. Use that. That will run. Pull that script, run in that, and release it. Even the updates can be pushed to the repo. Get rid of the VM, because we have other services provided by Microsoft, especially the Jumpbox, the PaaS solution. Even the AVD can be used. But however, if you are keeping a workload, a VM, running your scripts and the other batch works in the form of a VM, convert into a spot. What is 90%? And you are not going to own that the server, and time to time it will be renewed by Microsoft. You'll be getting a new server. Make it don't make it stateful, make it stateless. It's easy then. So when it comes to the spot, that's how it's going to help you. And the scaling, always practice this. When you have a continuous operation layer, start with one and go to the 5 or the 10 instance count. It's applicable now across VM, app services, Azure functions. All are capable of having the auto scaling. And again, you don't want to have a hot instance as always. You can spin up whenever it's required, because when you define a hot instance, you keep on paying even though it's not used. But auto scale without an hot instance, but on demand, it will be expanded. It's going to help you a lot when it comes to the scaling define. These stats are from a recent case study we evolved. We have reduced. So better take a snap if you really like. And it's a strategy always. I'm not saying it's a single tool that you can be using. Multiple strategies, multiple understanding of the services, the multiple the ideas you will be putting to the table in terms of using all together or partially. That is where that outcomes can be more meaningful for the baseline. So the baseline with RI start with, this is the mantra always, in a simple term, if I say, flexible with a savings plan. The burstable operations can be categorized under the spot, continuously tuned with the auto scaling. Keep this pro and strategize your workload, the compute optimization according to this. So effectively, the enterprise typically in this much. So you can say this is the baseline value you want to hit with your KPIs, whatnot, all your commitments, and at least you will be hitting up to this, or you might be sitting in between, or you must be going beyond. But if you can go beyond, that's super. That means mostly you'll be ending up without a compute, but there will be more serverless and some native services. That means that is the real future we really want to be in, not with relying on the workloads with the IaaS, because we have to get rid of the typical operation, patching and all other, the click ops that you make with the IaaS workload. So coming to the next one, which is SQL database, because the SQL running in a virtual machine is again, we are looking at such workload from the lens of IaaS. Still, your VM will have the Windows operating system, and then the SQL server, which means enterprise or standard, and that's all. But if you are going to use Azure SQL database, most of the organizations we have worked with, they might decide a simplest pathway of choosing the basic plan and ending up with all their fine tuning, or next stage will be the elastic pool, they will be bringing it in. However, these models should be understood as a part of the Azure SQL. DTU model, you get an option to identify your cores, storage, and the RAM, and appropriately you'll be able to define that. But however, the savings you can gain from the serverless. Serverless is the new era of using the SQL because we have three options, as I have mentioned here. If the database is not used, it does an auto pose. Just take a scenario where you need the databases across all 5 your non-prod environment, but the production you can still be going with a non-auto pose enabled, but others should be auto posed. Least, if I'm not mistaken, 15 minutes. It'll check for the 15 minutes, no any concurrency or no any the request hits in, it will go to the auto pose mode. Auto pose, if it is not enabled, your SQL will be charged. Serverless, even though if the server comes at that time, what is the specification will also be captured and that will be charged. And those are the consequences if you're not enabling this. Per second billing only you can be done with the serverless approach, which is adding more value because if you define a small time window, and that's going to be helpful. Dynamic scaling, and if you define these two, and if you I'll be able to show on screen there, screenshot, it will dynamically go to that defined path. Until that, it won't be used. You allocate 80 GB, but you are with the you're with less than 10 GB. But 80 will not be charged for you. You'll dynamically be scaling to that. Whatever the range you are reaching up to, and will be charged in. That mechanism is behind the serverless. So when you enable a SQL database, focus these three features, especially to understand that the per second billing happens. Serverless, you're going to choose always, and you are going to hit with the dynamic scaling behind that. Again, same like the virtual machine, even here you can leverage your hybrid benefit. Hybrid benefit with your SQL licenses, CoCal if you have been using under software assurance or you enterprise agreement base, but still you will be able to bring that and enable nearly 72 to 75, and that is under a 3 years commitment, and you will be having that strategic commitment enabled across your SQL workload. If you all have used SQL, and if you are going to use SQL, under the compute and the storage, you will see here, you'll be able to say for the days or hourly and the minutes here, maximum it can go 15. And this is what that, and if you define 10 or 15 here, if you are still in the 5, and that is how the dynamic scaling will happen. Same SQL, you don't want to enable by default, or if you are deploying through the biceps or any IAC base, it will be enabled by default. That is how Microsoft has defined. So they can be happy with the billing. But however, you still have the flexibility to turn off, because if you don't want your non-production to be in zonal, you can bring it, specifically locally to your zone only, and keep these three unticked, because these are the killers in your invoice. They increase the invoice value when they're enabled unnecessarily, unless there's a requirement, but local redundant sufficient to enjoy the biggest saving by enabling all. Here we go, serverless. Oh, here we commit, we need this much. We don't have an option. But if you can be serverless, that's a bold decision you're going to take, and you can, define 80 cores, but still dynamic, and to this much, it's going to be again dynamic here, max and the min. Still, you are going to, filter and bring a minimum value and a maximum value. So in between, more you change by identifying the spike and the usage month on month, you can enable the best possible saving ever behind the SQL. So the SQL, if you are going to bring in as a product, is Azure SQL DB. Keep these in mind. So hopefully, when you fine tune according to the need plus in an optimal way, your savings will be huge. So these are the tactics you will always be, looking into as practices when it comes to saving. If you see the business critical, because you are bringing a business critical workload, service TA is a premium, and there you go, you get the save money option to enable the Azure hybrid benefit tier. If you enable this, so your workload will be identified as a AHB enabled. So you're compliant with your SQL licenses coming from your software assurance or the enterprise agreement base, and you can be a compliant and an Azure cloud user. So you will be month on month, you'll be having the lowest bill value where. Read, still you can go for if you have multiple instances. Database can be zonal or cannot be zonal. Here also you get the same option for the vCores and the DP as well. Expensive the service under SQL, the service tier, but still benefits are huge. So we looked into compute, we looked into SQL. We have logs generated from all the workloads. Even a simple click or analysis or a read, everything will be logged in the log analytics. It's the repository where you bring all your logs ingested. So the two categories there always. I put the prices so you can know basic logs and analytical logs. So this gives you the idea which service you have to route to the table of basic logs, which needs to be under